Los calores. Corales. Oh, that's how you say it, okay. I look a little shiny right now. I don't know if it's the lighting or because I just did my face routine. Hi guys and welcome. I am Sincerely Valley. If you are a returning watcher, welcome back. And if you are new, I am Valley. I make videos on wellness, travel, and if you are a vegan, vegetarian, or pescatarian, I have recipes for you down on my channel, so be sure to check that out. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience going to the DR. So I went to the Dominican Republic in February of last year, so in 2022. So I'm going to share with you some of the pros and cons of being on this beautiful, interesting island. And also I'm going to share with you just some of the accommodations, the food, the activities, and things that I did while on this trip. While in the Dominican Republic, I regret just a little bit not paying a visit to Santo Domingo. So I spent most of my time in this province called La Alta Gracia. So this is where you have your Punta Cana and, you know, really touristy areas. And La Alta Gracia is on the easternmost part of the island. So my intentions were just to relax. So that's all I really wanted to do, was just to enjoy the beach and relax. So it was the perfect spot for that. So as far as accommodations, I stayed in an Airbnb that was in an area called Bavaro. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I was in that area, which was very centralized. So it was around lots of different restaurants. It was very near beaches and, you know, it was very accessible to explore the city. And I'll insert some pictures as well of my Airbnb, which was really nice. It even had like a rooftop pool, which was awesome. So I did take some wonderful pictures and enjoy my time up there, and it had like an overlook of the city, so that was really nice as well. And along the strip, as you are driving through this area, there are so many hotels and resorts that you can choose, but very expensive. So I just decided to jump into an Airbnb, which I don't regret because it was such a nice experience for the most part. As far as money in the DR, I did not use my credit card at all. And most of the people on the island took the Dominican peso, so that is their currency there. And I did notice that some restaurants do take American dollars, so you just have to figure out the conversion for that. So they do take American money, but if you do travel to the DR, I would say go ahead, do the conversion, get your pesos and pay that way. And I know some people say that there's a lot of scam culture going on when you go to some countries, but I don't think I was scammed when I was in the DR. So I think, you know, everything was priced accordingly, and the amount of money I spent was how much I intended to spend. So I don't feel like I was scammed, but I've heard people's stories where they have been taken advantage of just because they were recognized as an American. So it does happen, but from my experience, I don't think I got scammed. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the food now. So I don't have a lot of footage about the food, but I will say with certain restaurants in that area, it was kind of like hit and miss. So there were some dishes that I tried that were very good and some of them that were not so great. I did go to a Jamaican restaurant on the first day. I'm a big fan of Jamaican food, so why not? So I went to support, and it was actually pretty good. The portion sizes were very big, but the food was pretty good. And throughout my trip, I tried different restaurants. I tried a Dominican restaurant that was very near my Airbnb, and I ordered a mofongo. And I was kind of disappointed because I think it's because my expectations were so high, because the mofongo in Puerto Rico was like chef's kiss. It was so delicious, but I don't know if it's because it was so different. I just did not enjoy the mofongo in the Dominican Republic. But they had really good seafood. They had really good, I remember eating these tacos. They were like fish tacos. Absolutely delicious. Drinks were absolutely delicious. They also have a dish called sancocho, I think I'm saying that right, which is like a soup. I did try that as well, and it was really good. So with the food, it was kind of like a hit or miss, but it's kind of like on my part for not looking for restaurants and looking for reviews and things like that to find the best of the best. The experience wasn't bad, but definitely if you're looking to experience something that's highly rated, you want to do your research prior to going. As far as activities, I did spend a lot of my time on the beaches, and I also did a catamaran cruise as well, which was really fun. So I will show you guys some of the beaches that I went to. So on the first day, I went to the one that was, I believe it was closest to my Airbnb, called Los Corrales. I think I'm saying that right. So it was really nice, a very laid back beach, you know, people playing volleyball. It was really nice. It did have a lot of seaweed though. So I have never seen so much seaweed that was brushed up on the shoreline, but it was just interesting to see. But other than that, I did get some nice pictures when I moved away from the seaweed, and the waters were really nice as well, very cooling. It was a really nice and relaxing experience. The next beach that I went to was called Bayahive. So Bayahive was one of my favorite beaches, not my favorite, but one of my favorite beaches. And this is perfect for those who want to go snorkeling and just explore in that way. So this is where I did my catamaran cruise, and I had some of the people that came with me. They snorkeled and things like that, but I was too afraid to snorkel because I'm not the strongest swimmer. But I hear you don't have to know how to swim to snorkel, but who knows? I wasn't trying to find out that day. But it was a really nice experience. So I just love boat rides in general. Okay, they bring me so much peace and just bring me so much relaxation. And on top of that, we had the live music playing. We had fruits and desserts and drinks on deck. So it was really dope. So I would definitely recommend just doing a boat ride if you are going to, you know, the Dominican Republic and Bayahive, because these crystal clear waters were gorgeous. Like, if you've never been to a Caribbean island before, like, the water is gorgeous. You have to try it at least once, and you will notice the difference between beaches in the Caribbean versus beaches elsewhere. And last but not least, my favorite beach that I visited was Playa Lacao. So it was so beautiful. I've never saw sand so dark and rich against the beautiful ocean. Like, the contrast was just so gorgeous. So I definitely would recommend that beach. It wasn't super crowded. It was nice and quiet. Coconuts everywhere. So it's really like the island vibe. So that was one of my most favorite beaches and one of the best beaches I've been to in my life so far since I've traveled. So definitely, I highly recommend you visit that beach if you go to the DR. So I did do a little sightseeing when I was in the DR, but nothing too intense. And that's why I said maybe if I would have went to Santo Domingo, I would have got, like, you know, the good cultural tours and things like that. But I think I saw what I needed to see as I was just walking and navigating through, you know, the Providence that I stayed. Now we're going to go into the pros and cons. So we're going to start with the cons, and then we're going to end off with the pros. So the number one con was that you cannot drink the water in the DR. So the filtration system is horrible. The water is filled with salt and minerals. So it's recommended that you do not drink the water. I just couldn't do it with the salt water. It made my skin so dry as well. So I was just like, So the traffic was horrible. So people do not pay attention to street signs. They don't stop at stop signs. If you are not used to that or haven't seen that and you're so used to structure, if you go to the DR, you're not going to find structure. It's going to be so messy. I don't recommend you drive. If you are a person that does not speak Spanish at all, I highly recommend you learn some basic Spanish or Google Translate. So something that can help you translate, right? So luckily for me, I did have like basic knowledge of Spanish. I actually minored in Spanish in college. Most of the time, people will not speak to you in English, but there are people that will try. You are going to a full Spanish speaking country. So it is important that you kind of prepare yourself for that. Fourth con was the food. I mentioned it was hit or miss for me, and that was just my personal experience. I'm sure across the island there's some wonderful restaurants that has some bomb delicious food. Con number 5 was kind of like a personal thing for me, which I know other people's experience might not be the same. So I got burned by the sun, okay? So it was my fault for not applying and buying enough sunscreen to last me for the 4 days that I was there and just going to the beach every day. So that was kind of my fault. So it just being in that climate of hot humidity and just the sun blazing on me, my skin got a lot darker than I intended it to get, you know, so it activated my melanin drastically. So, you know, you have like the tan lines and stuff when you like take your swimsuit off. So I had that for a while and I did not like it at all. So definitely wear your sunscreen. And I'm a person who lives in a state that has lots of humidity, so it was humid there, and what humidity does to the hair is not fun if you are a kinky curly girl like me. So I did not enjoy being in the humidity, but like I said, I was used to it, being that I live in a state that is humid for most of the summertime and, you know, springtime. Just be prepared. So it wasn't really like a con. All right, so I had to switch gears a little bit because I was having some malfunctions with my phone. So on to con number 6. So number 6 is gonna sound a little silly, but I feel like there was like a tissue shortage in the DR when I went there. And one thing I didn't like was that, okay, for example, I went to Bayahive, and before we aborted the boat, we went to the restroom, and there was this lady that was like handing out tissue papers, and she gives me like 4 or 5 tissue squares as I'm going to the restroom. And when I'm in the stall, there's like no tissue inside of the little holder. So I'm like, what the heck? Also in my Airbnb, when the first roll of tissue was out and I requested another one, guy was like, you know, you have to go, you know, we don't provide you more than one. So I had to go buy one. But it was just so weird. But that was one thing I did not like while in the DR. So I don't know if anybody else has had an experience like this, but for me, it was just kind of strange. Right, now moving on to the pros of taking this trip to the DR. So the first pro is that the trip was very affordable. So if you want an affordable trip that is also a nice, relaxing Caribbean vibe, definitely you want to do the DR. So that was a plus for me. Number 2 is the abundance of beautiful beaches there. So definitely if you want to go and just enjoy a beach, I'm sure like anyone that you pull up on is going to be gorgeous. So definitely beach Playa Macau was awesome. I can't say enough great things about it. So definitely some of the most beautiful beaches in the world are in the DR. Number 3 is its casual, relaxing environment. So it had a nice balance of that, as well as activities like snorkeling, parasailing, things like that. So if you are interested in a more adventurous side, they offered that as well. So I like the variety in that. And the Dominican Republic has such a rich culture as well, and that's why I kind of regretted not going to Santo Domingo for that purpose. So just looking at the architecture and just the celebration of different cultures coming together, how culturally diverse the DR is. So you're going to have individuals that are Dominican that live there. There were lots of Europeans, surprisingly, there, Haitians. So you get like a nice mix of people there. That was definitely a pro. And I've heard some things about, you know, some groups not getting along, but that's none of my business. So, you know, I didn't notice any weirdness or craziness as I was there, but you know, my time there was only 4 days. But I have heard things from one of my friends that lived there, and there's clearly a divide in some of the ethnic groups, but I didn't stay long enough to experience it. And if I go back to the DR, I would definitely pay a visit to the more historic sites there. Another pro was that the airport was super easy to maneuver in the DR, because some airports are so difficult to just find your way, right? So I did fly to this country on my own, so it was kind of like a solo trip, but I did have a friend that I met up with there. But the airport situation was super easy to maneuver. It was a small airport, very organized, so just going in and out of it was really smooth. So that was actually a really good thing, especially if you are a first-time traveler, solo traveler. So definitely a plus. Overall, I would rate the Dominican Republic, so my experience in the Dominican Republic, a roughly 6.57 out of 10. Okay, so would I go back? Maybe. I just have so many other locations on my list that I want to travel to, but the DR was definitely a good little place to get your feet wet as a traveler. And yeah, just be safe. Make sure that you know, are aware of where you're going, where you are, who you're with. You just have to be very vigilant when you're traveling to any type of foreign country. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned for more travel videos if you want to see more like this. All right, you guys have a beautiful day in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Will everything fail? Would you like to swim?
우리